All right, so it looks like as our cars are getting a little older, either you've inherited a car that had convertible top issues in the past, or maybe you've had a convertible top issue and you've been forced to manually raise or lower your back window. I thought I'd make a little video to show what happens to the little motor when you have to manually raise and lower it multiple times, because the little motor is not really made to be manually moved too many times, more like an emergency situation. And so let me show you on the outside. This is the motor. So if you're looking for a replacement part number, and I'll put the part number on the video screen, but you can see it right here. This is the part number for the motor. The good news is that this motor is used in quite a few BMWs. So it's not just the rear window module motor for the convertible. It's actually used in the sunroof on some X series and even some newer models. So the motor's not hard to find. You can look it up by this numbers right here. Don't worry about the 04, that's the revision. But I'll put the numbers up on the screen and you'll be able to find this motor. A lot of people are selling them used, so you can get them. I've seen them out on the web for $30 to $40, all the way up to brand new. They're about $500 if you want to buy a brand new one. So let's dig down into the motor and see just what goes wrong when you have to manually operate this. So the motor itself is pretty simple. It actually drives two cables on the back side back here. So this gear is pretty strong. It's made out of metal. And so those cables move in and out, and that's what raises and lowers the window. On this side though, this is where you manually put your key in there when you want to raise it up and down. And so this is the one you crank when you want to do the emergency window raise or lower. So one of the big things you have is that this little piece of metal over here is not very strong. So when you put the key in there, and that's why this motor is bad, is because it's been tried to move so many times that it's actually stripped. And so you can't even get it to move anymore. So it's broken. If you can see right here, you can see it's got a crack in it. So it was raised and lowered so many times that it actually broke that open. So that's one of the things that happens that makes it so you can't even move the window anymore, because you can't get the motor to turn, is that it strips that. But there's a couple other things inside that can go wrong too. So let's open it up and see what's inside. So all we got to do is take these two screws out. And then we just got to pop all these clips off and we can access it. All right, so when we pull it apart, what we have inside is a little circuit board, and then that drives the motor. So the motor itself runs and it turns the big white gear, and this is the hole where you normally do the cranking. So what happens, the reason why this breaks out is, if you see, it takes a lot of force to get that white gear to move, because it's having to try to back drive the motor to the point that, like, this one's broken. So let me get a little piece of something and stick it in there to kind of make it where I can make it move. All right, so when you raise and lower the window, you're turning that gear, but the motor doesn't want to turn. So you can see it's really resistant. And so what you have to do is overcome that gear movement right there. So if I take my finger and actually start the motor and get it moving, then it moves real easy. So see, I can turn it. But it's that act of getting that motor to just try to start to move is what strips that out. So that's one problem that you have. If this doesn't fail, the other issue you run into is that it'll actually strip this plastic gear right here. And so this gear will wear out and it'll strip. So if you hear your window clicking as it tries to go up or clicking as it tries to go down, what it's doing is this motor gear, the little screw gear, is actually jumping on these teeth, because these teeth have gone bad. So at that point you probably need to replace it, because I don't know that these gears are available for replacement. You would just replace the whole motor and the gear and everything. But as far as the little circuit board goes, what it does is it tells the motor when to stop when it gets to the top, or stop when it gets to the bottom. And so in a lot of cases, as the mechanism starts getting dry that raises the window up and down, or things start wearing, what the sensor does is tell the motor that it's completed the movement, and so it's hit enough current that it tells it to shut down. So in that case, the window doesn't want to go up all the way. It'll inch up. You'll have to keep hitting the button to get it to keep moving, or you'll have to hit the button to get it to go down. So the little motor is actually a smart motor, and that's what helps it to control its start and stop positions, or its end positions. So there's kind of just a little rundown of what goes on in that motor. Like I say, if this gear wears out, it'll click. If this breaks, then you're not able to move it manually just because you can't overcome the starting force of the motor right here. As you see, once I get it moving, it's not so hard to do. But just right at the beginning, when it's sitting still, it doesn't want to move. And so all it'll do is just strip out. So there you go, a little rundown of what's inside the back window regulator's motor. And maybe that'll help somebody out to get some details on why you're having a problem. Well, alrighty. Well, thanks for watching.